So here's a question for you. Here's a question for me. What captures your heart? What do you put above a lot of things in your heart? What captures your eye? What captures your attention? What is the epicenter of your heart? What are those things that you love to do, right? I mean, I believe this about anybody. You can tell what a person loves, what a person is gravitated to, what captures their heart and motivates their decisions. You can always tell based on several things. One being who they hang with, right? Who they hang out with is their friend groups. Another being what they spend their money on. Another being what they spend their time doing, what their hobbies are. Their Google search or Safari engines are showing. Like you can tell a lot about a person based on just a few of those things and what they are invested in and what they are interested in. Now, more often than not, you've heard me say this before, that our hearts are in a tug of war, not only with God, but many other things in our lives. And so we're going to piano lessons or whatever instrument you play. We're going to date nights, or we're going to events that we love doing, social gatherings, or, the hobbies that we have, our job, our careers, our schooling, right? The list just goes on and on and on. That is in a tug of war with our heart and God. And it's just a constant battle. And more often than not, the very things that we put ahead of God aren't healthy. Matter of fact, I would say all of it. You may say, well, what about the good things I'm doing? Yes, but when those take precedent over God, there's a problem. God should be the epicenter of everything that we do. It doesn't mean that, like, oh my God, God is a party pooper and doesn't want me to do anything, or God has to be the center of attention. No, 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 no. Well, he should be, because he created everything and gave you everything and loves you and gives you with things to be able to do things. So, like, yeah, he should be the center of attention. But when he's the center, it makes things more joyous. It makes things better. And you're bringing a lot of people along in the journey with you and influencing things for the greater good in God's kingdom versus something else. And so it sucks, though, when we are being pulled left and right because we are putting things before God and we're putting a lot of the things that we think we like above him. There's a man by the name of John, the Apostle John, who walked with Jesus, saw him die, and then saw him rise. And then the crazy thing about that, which the man predicted his own death and pulled it off. So of course I'd follow a man who does that. But then John literally gives his life, the rest of his life, serving Jesus. And so, in letting the gospel be known to many people throughout the Mediterranean Rim and even further. And so here's the crazy thing, which I think is incredible. John at his old age is writing these letters for people to read. And it's beautiful that we even have a letter from John that survived antiquity. And so he says this in 1 John chapter 5, verse 21. He says, "Dear children," talking to all those who are Christians. He says, "Dear children, keep away from anything that might take God's place in your hearts." Wow. He says, keep away from the very things that may take precedence in your heart over God. Because when that happens, you know this, I know this to be true, that we're left hollow because we're putting so much time and energy in that thing, or those things, and it's not giving back to us. And two, they become king and they rule in our hearts when it needs to be God. How often do you give way to many things that you enjoy doing? It's okay to have fun and enjoy those things, but when they become king in your heart and in your life, then we have a problem. He says, just keep away from those things and make sure they don't replace God in your heart. That's a tough one. That's tough. For you, definitely I can say for me, but we need to remember that he needs to be the epicenter of our lives. And when God is the epicenter of our lives, I believe wholeheartedly, at least in my life, it's not the fact that it's easier, but the fact that God, it makes things more beautiful. And so I just want to say that word of encouragement for whoever's listening, that to be careful to put things above God and be careful to not have God rule your heart. Instead, you have other things. Just be careful with that. There's a lot to be said there. There's a lot to be said. So, friends, friends in the faith, friends who are listening, this is practical for everybody. Be careful what rules your heart. Pay attention to what you're captivated by, and make sure that Christ is the center in all that you do, because he's the one that sustains you, that protects you, and provides for you.